Welcome to Commsverse. This is session 372, Fuse2 and Mida Solutions. And today we will be presented to you by Chris Blagg and Giovanni Naidu. All your questions will be answered at the end of the session. So Chris, you are ready to go.
Fantastic, thank you. Good afternoon, good evening guys, and welcome to a session on Fuse2 Communications and Mida Solutions. If any of you guys saw the session yesterday, we went into a bit of depth on exactly who we are as a business and what exactly we are doing with Microsoft Teams direct routing and how the business has evolved over the past 4 years to adapt to such a fantastic market that we're currently speaking around at the moment involving Teams. We give a bit of an overview into the network, how the support guys manage our independent carrier grade network, which is built on Ribbon, and then I moved on to the relationship that we've got with Giovanni over at Mida. So this session is going to be more about the actual overlay of the call center solution which we have within our own network. So we have the Mida solution hosted in our core infrastructure, which we provide to end users and partners all across the UK, Europe, and even further overseas than that. But before I hand over to Giovanni, I'm just going to give a very quick run through on Fuse2. So apologies if you've heard this already, but I'm just going to keep this very quickly because I did go into this in a lot of detail yesterday. But for those who didn't see it, here goes. So we are an independent voice and data network hosted in many different data centers across the UK and Europe as well. We are part of ITSPA, which is an arm of Ofcom. Ofcom are the UK's governing body for telecoms. I'm sure you guys are aware of that. And over the 3 years, you know, the business has grown very aggressively and moved around to different offerings within the UC market, Cloud Fusion, which is Ribbon, and Cloud 3CX, and more recently 12 months ago into Teams. But last year, because of the way we've grown and the way that we've developed our staff, we entered into the ITSPA Awards and we won the Best ITSP 2019, and we've been shortlisted again for 3 separate categories this year. But for the current climate, you know, we couldn't attend the award ceremony, which hopefully, touch wood, is later on this year. We are very much geared around the partner proposition. We have a fantastic Edge portal, which is also geared around Teams, and we're constantly adding new features to the Edge portal. We are a completely independent carrier grade network. We have a direct interconnect into Microsoft using various different peering exchanges. So with our direct routing solution, if you make a phone call from your Teams client, it'll be handed off over to the Fuse2 infrastructure privately. It won't go over the public internet. So we do have a very unique proposition using our Ribbon SBCs. We can even go one step further. You know, it's not just call center solutions that we can provide via Mida. We can do some very funky call forking solutions. We can even assign legacy PBX solutions to work with Teams using call forking at network level. You know, we can make a very old 10-year-old SIP handset ring as well as a Teams client at the same time. So these are the type of things that we can do, which is very bespoke, especially in big deployments within the education sector where they've invested 6-figure sums in new PBX infrastructure. We can merge Teams and legacy systems together, which is our strong point in the market. Again, going one step further, we have a global interconnect, so our global reach is huge. You know, we can provide in-country breakout over 40 countries across the world, emergency services in these countries. We can port numbers in pretty much any destination and provide new DIDs instantly within our partner portal, as long as the correct documentation for that particular country is shown, and we can apply for these numbers. Okay, so apologies if I went through that very quickly. I did go into this in a lot more detail yesterday. If you want to know more about myself and Fuse2, have a look at the on-demand video, or just hit us up in the Teams chat, and we can have a bit of an introduction. But what I'm going to do now is hand you over to the very talented Giovanni over in Italy. Fantastic company. These guys have done many sessions themselves. and he's going to just give you a very overview of the interface for Mida and how it works within our core network. Thanks, guys, and over to Giovanni.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris, for this presentation. And so let me go and share my screen at this point. Okay, I hope everybody can see my screen here. So I would start by giving a quick overview of the network architecture, which is reference for us. It's something I did already in the previous session with Fuse2, but I think it's worthwhile repeating for those that were not attending yesterday. So as you see here, this is a typical direct routing deployment where you have the public network, fixed or mobile, the session border controller acting as a routing point between the public network, the Teams cloud, and at some point we have our own contact center and recorder application connected via a SIP trunk to the session border controller. So as I said, the session border controller acts as a routing point. So we get the incoming calls through it. We provide, as I will show, basic the treatment of all the calls, the queuing them up, all a while looking for some available agent to manage the call, and then the call is routed back to the agent we have identified. From an agent perspective, we allow a lot of different methods that can be used singularly or in combination between them, going from very basic IP phones attached to the SBC, the old, or let's say old, let's say at this point probably old Skype for Business clients, down to the Teams native clients, and of course a couple of attendant consoles that we sell as our own products. One again attached to the session border controller and acting as a sort of advanced SIP phone working out of a PC with the web-based interface, and the other one directly integrated into the Teams client. So looking at all this infrastructure, you can easily see that this portion here, which deals with all the telephony part, the direct routing and the SBC, is Fuse2 domain, what they excel in, and we do the remaining contact center and recorder part. So having said this, let me switch screens again. Oops, not this one. Just to show a little bit how the contact center is configured, what you can do with that, and the level of flexibility you can achieve. What you're seeing here is our contact center administrator console, which is again a web-based interface. I'm running it out of a Chrome browser. I'll go straight into the configuration aspects. The component that needs to be configured is and provides all the contact center functionalities, what we call the queue manager and IVR, and it includes any number. We have no constraints, but the resources being given. Any number of services or queues. In this case, this is a demo, and I have configured 4 of them. You may notice this one, the last one here, which is called sample IVR, and as the name suggests, it's actually an IVR. So it's an IVR functionality that you can configure, fully configure. You can for example, define menus, define the available choices for the customer, and what happens in correspondence to the dialed number. So 1, go to service, go to a different service, 3, perhaps play a message, and so on. All of this is as I said, fully customizable by the user itself, and you can have as many layers in the tree as you need to route the customer to the final, let's say, destination, be it a message, be it an automatic service, be it an operator in the end. So in the end, very likely, when the customer has done all its choices, it will probably end up in a queue where at some point an operator, an agent will be able to pick up the call and discuss and talk with the customer. And this is how you configure queues in our contact center. You can define opening and closing time. You can define call treatment during the waiting time. Multiple possibilities here. I will go very fast on this, but essentially you can govern let's say that the 3 main aspects, I would say, about queues. So first of all, messages, a number of messages you can inject, from the welcome message and music during the waiting time and so on. All of these are fully customizable by the end user. All you have to do is record the message in a WAV format or in MP3 format, upload the message to the platform. It will appear here in this pull down, and you can assign messages to the various events. Second important thing, behavior during critical conditions. We have a couple of them. One, it's called queue overflow, basically too many calls arriving, the agent not able to cope with them, so you need to do something at that point. And this is governed by a couple of parameters: maximum number of waiting calls or maximum waiting time for them. And based on violation of any of these parameters, you can decide with new incoming calls to hang them up, to transfer them perhaps to a backup number, or just to go out of service. The other critical condition is no available agents, and you have similar choices. Third aspect, probably the most relevant one, the call distribution algorithm. So which criteria do you use to route the call from the queues to the final agent that will handle them? We have 5 possibilities here. Round robin, a very common algorithm in the market. Broadcast, very simple, just make all the telephone ring and someone will finally and eventually pick the call up. Skill-based, probably very interesting, one of the advanced algorithms we provide. Fundamentally, every agent is assigned a skill, which is a number, and the contact center will try to assign the call to the agent, to the available agent with the highest skill. Idle time, another interesting algorithm in my opinion. The idea here is you want your agent to spend their conversation time more or less equally or evenly, so that nobody talks too much or too little. So the algorithm will try to assign the call to the available agent who's been idle for the most time. And finally, top down, a simple, very simple flat list, where the algorithm will start from the top, go from agent to agent until an available one is found, and then send the call to assign the call to him. So this is for the call treatment. Of course, possibility to define what happens if the service is not active. Multiple possibilities here, from very basic like hanging the calls up, to transferring them, playing messages, perhaps saying, sorry guys, we're out of service, call tomorrow. Phono repeater, you can provide a alternative telephone number, or you can go to a different service, perhaps a 24/7 service. And as well, you can define holidays and special treatments for holidays. In terms of agents, you can, let me go out, you can assign any number of agents to a service, and on the other hand, an agent can be assigned to multiple services. So there's a many-to-many relationships between agents and services. You can control from here which agents have been assigned to a specific service. You can control their extension number, their status, whether they are logged into the service or not logged into the service. You can assign skills, and you can also force them into a service or out of a service. And as well, you can define supervisors, and I will tell you a bit more about supervisor in a moment. Let me, before that, just quickly show the reporting capabilities. Of course, you need to have reports for your management, also for understanding the operations of the contact center. So we can create reports on the fly, on demand. We have possibility of having, for example, details reports with number of filters, as you have seen. The report is created on the fly, and it will fundamentally report every call that has been handled by the call center, together with some information like calling and code number, start and end time, all the waiting and conversation times, and whether the call was actually in the end served by some agent or it was abandoned before someone could deal with it. Other possibilities also aggregate reports by operator, by service. This is probably interesting as well, because it's fundamentally the same type of information as I showed before, but rearranged by service with a number of interesting measurements provided in terms of timings, in terms of classification of calls, and so on. Reports can be, as I have just shown, can be requested on demand. They can also be scheduled, so you can, once you find the report that fits best your needs, you can define a frequency, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever you like, an hour of the day for the generation of the report, and then where it has to be delivered. It's not shown here because it's this is a demo. I don't have an email account assigned to this admin account, but if I had, I could also say define a mailing list, and so ask the application to deliver the report when ready to the mailbox of a number of recipients. So that's very quickly and roughly it about the configuration possibilities. I was mentioning the supervisor role. We have a supervisor console that I'm showing here, and this is really to keep an eye on the real-time operations of the contact center. A number of dashboards available for the supervisor, starting from this one, very general, with number of active calls and waiting calls being reported in real time, plus additional measurements being reported periodically and also graphed here in the middle, and the same type of information aggregated by service here in the bottom. Other possibilities, something more visual, perhaps, if you have to show this in a wall board, and also breakdown by agent and breakdown by queues. For example, you take a queues, you understand exactly all the agents assigned to it, what is their status, if they are logged in or not, and again here the possibility of forcing login and log out of the agent into the queue. Interesting point, last one about this console. By if I have this view about the services, I can click on this gear icon here, and this allows me to actually modify the service configuration. So for example, I have this service here by the administrator. It has been configured to start automatically. But I could say, for example, I'm in a critical situation. I want to shut everything down because I cannot cope with the incoming calls. So I can go back to manual. I can say close. And then, of course, this will the service will be put out of service. I can also change the out of service treatment, the messages associated with the queues and the holidays as well. So a possibility for the supervisor to really act upon the services in real time whenever they feel the need about it. I would just spend a couple of minutes, if you allow me, on one of the consoles. I cannot, unfortunately, demo both of them. This is the legacy one with the possibility for the agents to log in and out selectively on the services. The calls would appear here, and the agent will be able to answer and manage the call by using the buttons here, and also by right-clicking on the call and getting the same type of information. It's also integrated with corporate directories, so this can be used as well to transfer calls, for example, or to make outgoing calls. I think it's enough for this evening. I tried to be as quick and comprehensive as I could, but of course, if you need more information, just reach out to Chris or myself. And having said this, I would hand it over to Michael again.
All right, thank you guys. I just posted in the Q&A the link for the breakout room. So if anyone has some more detailed questions, nobody chose to use the Q&A. So if you want to get some direct interaction with Chris or Giovanni, you can do it in the breakout room. I think that's all we have. So thank you guys very much.
Yeah.
And thanks for presenting and supporting Commsverse.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening.
Have a nice evening, everybody. Bye.
Bye.